I caught my husband pouring my breast milk into a small clay pot behind our house, and when I screamed, he looked at me and said, "This is what has been paying our house rent for 5 years." Ever since our first daughter was born 4 years ago, and now with our little son, Emeka has been obsessed with one thing: my breast milk. Till now, I'm yet to recover from the shock. It's been more than 5 years since I married Emeka, despite my mother's strong warning. My mother had always been the prayer warrior kind of mother. "I don't like him. There is a dark cloud hovering around him," she would say. I thought she was being absurd, and never would I let her influence who I marry with things she claimed to see. After all, Emeka was wealthy, good-looking, and very caring. We made a perfect family with 2 beautiful children. The only thing dark about him was his glowing dark skin. Or was I wrong? I opened my eyes at exactly 2:14 a.m. that day to find that my husband was no longer beside me. His side of the bed was cold, and it was obvious that it had been long since he stood up. All I wanted as I woke up that day was to get a cup of water. But the silence, it was unusual, and that bothered me. "Emeka, baby," I called, but my husband was nowhere to be found. I got a glass of water from the kitchen and walked to the balcony at the back of the house, upstairs. The stars were glowing, the moon smiling as well. That drew my attention. The skies were beautiful, but as I looked down, my husband was right there, shirtless, and in front of him was a black clay pot with cowries tied around it. What in the world was he doing there by 2 a.m.? Many questions began running through my mind. I didn't even know we had such kind of traditional pot in our house. That was when it struck me. Whatever he was doing wasn't ordinary. Right there, I watched as my husband carefully poured out milk from a bottle into the clay pot. Breast milk, my own milk. Could this be why he always begged me? "Clara, baby, don't let the milk waste," he would say. "Every drop is precious. Pump it, put it in the freezer. I'll help you dispose of the ones that have stayed too long." I was confused. I was speechless. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't hold back and I screamed, "Emeka, what is this? What are you doing with my milk?" He jumped in shock. The clay pot nearly tipped over. I quickly ran downstairs to meet him. As soon as he turned to look at me, I realized he didn't look like the man I married. Shirtless, he looked afraid, shocked, and confused at the same time. "Keep your voice down, Clara. Do you think I work for the central bank? Do you think any business pays for the kind of life we live in this economy? This is what has been paying our house rent for 5 years. My heart stopped. Rent? To who? "Emeka, what are you talking about?" I asked as my voice trembled. "We own this house. You showed me the certificate of ownership yourself. We paid hundreds of millions." He took a deep breath. "My love, the documents are real in the physical, but in the spiritual, we are just squatters." "What?" I screamed in confusion. "My love, you need to understand that I was a failure. Before I met you, I slept under the bridge. I made a deal with the owner of this land. He gave us the cars, the jewelry, and this mansion, just on one condition." "And what condition is that?" I managed to ask, my legs already shaking. "That we always feed this pot," he said coldly. "With my milk? Emeka, is this a joke?" Just then, I heard a bashing sound from upstairs. "What is that?" I was about to run up there when Emeka grabbed my arm. His grip was so firm. "Keep your voice down, Clara. Don't go up there yet," he said. "Let me go," I screamed, pulling away from him with all my strength. I began running up the stairs, so fast that my heels were touching my back. As long as my kids were upstairs, I had to make sure they were okay. As I staggered into the master bedroom where the sound was coming from, I was shocked to find that everything was perfectly fine. What then caused the bashing sound? Immediately, Emeka also ran in. "If you don't listen to me and keep doing what I say you shouldn't, you'll get us in big trouble." "How would I listen to you when you've been lying to me all these years? What is really going on?" Suddenly, I felt a hand brush the back of my neck and a voice immediately followed. "The milk has been sweet, Emeka." I could hear it, but I couldn't see anyone talking. That alone sent fear down my spine. "But your wife is glowing. She looks very healthy." Fear gripped my entire being as the voice continued thundering. Why should I settle for the milk when I can have its source? Immediately, Emeka fell to his knees, trembling. Please, great one, we had an agreement. The terms have changed, the voice replied brutally. Your wife is my new desire. But that wasn't even the main revelation. My legs were shaking. My husband, Emeka, and I could hear a voice talking, but there was no one. Please, great one, leave my wife out of this, Emeka begged on his knees. Ha ha ha, you really think you can tell me what to do after delaying my weekly milk offering? No, my lord, but please, we can double it. Just spare us this one time. We'll double the offerings. Suddenly, the room became quiet. The silence that followed was heavier than gravels. I thought that the voice had left us, but I was wrong. It thundered again in our bedroom, louder than ever. I'll let your wife be if you can keep to your end of the bargain. If you can, double the offering, the voice echoed. It was a knowing. I knew at once that the voice had vanished as soon as that statement was made. It was gone. Double the offerings. My teeth were chattering, my eyes dilated. I wanted to talk, but there were no words. Emeka was still bent to the ground, weak and his eyes pale. Emeka, please, I found my voice, though it was thin and broken. Talk to me. Who was that? What is really going on? I said, panting. Emeka didn't even look at me. He was still on his knees. His eyes were fixed on the empty space where the voice had come from. Emeka, I said at the top of my voice. My love, there really is no time for explanations. That was the landlord, he said, and I saw fear lit up his eyes as soon as he said those words. The landlord? Yes, if we double the offering by tomorrow night, we'll both be gone. We have to start working immediately. And by the offering, you mean my milk, my breast milk? He stepped closer, and for the first time, I saw the greed in his eyes replace the love. You just need to pump, my love. Pump more than you've ever pumped. Use the supplement I give you. Just do it and we can go back to being happy. It was at that exact moment I realized that my husband was gone. I'm calling my mother. I need her prayers, I said, reaching for my phone on the table. I'm calling the police. This is over. Before I could dial, Emeka moved with a speed I have never witnessed. He snatched the phone and crushed it in his bare hand like it was a biscuit. Suddenly, he grabbed me and dragged me toward the guest room. You are not calling anybody. Your mother and her prayers will only make things worse. You will stay here and produce what is needed. It's for your own good, Clara. It's for the kids. He threw me into the guest room and slammed the door. I heard the door lock abruptly. Emeka had jammed me inside. Pump the milk, Clara, so tomorrow we don't become like dust, he roared from the other side. I fell against the door, tears streaming freely from my eyes. Everything happening was too much to comprehend. I was in disbelief. Was that even my husband? Shockingly, just as I was lost in thoughts, I noticed how silent the room became. I looked inside and I saw something that looked like a shadow. That was when I realized I wasn't alone in this locked room. As I looked at the dark edges of the room, I saw something that looked like a shadow. That was when I realized I wasn't alone in this locked room. My heart began drumming to the rhythm of terror. Who is there? I said, shaking. I grabbed a pillow from the bed to defend myself. But as I blinked, the shadow vanished. My mind was starting to play tricks on me. Or was it? I couldn't tell anymore. All I knew was that I needed to move. I needed to find a way out of this room. I rushed to the drawers, hoping to find something that could force the door open. Maybe even a key. The drawers were filled with dust and cobwebs. I tried opening the last drawer, but it was jammed, stuck, and refused to open. Desperate, I yanked it with all my strength, and it flew open with a loud crack, sending a cloud of dust and thick cobwebs into the air. Inside, it was a bunch of old newspapers. Who kept them there? As I raised them up, I was shocked at what I found. My heart skipped a beat, and my bones vibrated. Hidden under the newspapers were a bunch of old dated photographs tied with a dirty black ribbon. My hands shook as I flipped through them. Each of them were photos of Emeka, looking younger, standing in this same backyard with different women. What stunned me was how they looked like couples in these pictures. Was he married to them? Where are they now? The first set showed him with a lady in 2010. By 2015, a new face appeared. By 2020, another woman was smiling beside him in front of our swimming pool. It was at that very moment I realized that that month would make it exactly 5 years since I moved in. My time was up. If these three women were really married to Emeka and disappeared after 5 years, did that mean that whatever happened to them was about to happen to me? I had to act, and act fast. As I dug deeper into the drawer, my hand hit a cold glass bottle. I pulled it out, blowing off the dust. It was the anointing oil my mother, the prayer warrior, had forced on me years ago. "Clara, take this. Life is deep. You don't know the day trouble will knock," she had warned. I remember throwing it in the guest room. To me, it was useless. My mother always acted too spiritual for nothing. Now it felt like a lifeline. An idea sharp and dangerous struck me. If they wanted my milk, I would give it to them, but I would make sure it was sanctified. Suddenly, the door pushed open forcibly. I quickly shoved the photos away and hid the oil in my nightgown. It was Emeka. He was holding a tray of food and a milk pump in his hand. "Eat, Clara," he said. "You need strength. There's work to do." He set the tray down, but the food smelled too strong. It was the rice I made the previous evening, but it looked different, almost as if it wasn't ordinary. "I love you, baby, but you need to understand that we must do what we can to save ourselves. You should know I'm not happy to keep you here, but..." He paused. "I need you to be cooperative. Explanations and apologies can come later." I remained silent as he spoke, refusing to believe the person in front of me was the man I married. "But right now, you must eat this food, every single bit of it, and I mean it," he said, bringing out something that looked like a knife. "Emeka wants my breast milk. He locked me in the guest room and forced me to pump more. And since I caught him pouring it into a clay pot in our backyard, I could never trust him again. You must eat this food," he said, bringing out something that looked like a knife. "You need strength to pump enough milk." He went ahead to bring out a spoon and motioned at me to take it and eat. "Eat, Clara," my husband, Emeka, said. "God forbid!" I screamed. "If you want the milk, I will pump it, but I will not touch anything that comes from your hand. I will not eat your food." "What do you mean by my food? You made this last evening," he blurted out. "Emeka, I said I am not eating your food." My voice was steady, even though I was drowning in fear. "Are you kidding me right now? Do you realize we don't have time for this foolishness?" We stared at each other for almost a minute. There was a silent war between the man I loved and the monster he had become. Finally, he let out a frustrated hiss and picked up the tray. "Fine, but if these bottles are not full by morning, I'll take matters into my own hands." He dropped 3 empty plastic bottles and the pump, looked at me, and I could see concern in his eyes. "Cooperate for our own good," he said, and shut the door. I didn't waste a second. I rushed to the guest bathroom, digging through the old sponges and half-used soaps we had dumped there over the years. Aha! My hand hit a small plastic container, a pesticide. The label was faded, but the contents were deadly. I sat on the floor. The pump moved to and fro as I let out a hollow sound. The liquid pumped into the bottles, and I pulled out the pesticide and the anointing oil from my nightgown. "You want my milk? I will give it to you," I whispered coldly. I added 3 drops of the oil and a cover full of the pesticide into each of the bottles and shook them until they looked pure, white, even, all through. By morning, my body was dry, my spirit was empty, but my only trap was set. Soon, Emeka opened the door. He was looking haggard and even more drained than myself. "It's 8 a.m. already. I've sent the kids to my sister's place downtown. It will be bad for them to witness whatever happens tonight. I don't want them to get hurt." Suddenly, he smiled as he saw all the 3 bottles he dropped were filled up. "Get up. Let's go to the kitchen so you can prepare something proper for yourself." All the while he talked, I maintained total silence. Once we can feed the landlord what he wants, we'll be totally free. He led me out of the room and we walked to the kitchen. "Grab something, eat, you've worn yourself out," he said, and I nodded. "I'll be back." In a flash, he began rushing towards the sitting room. What was shaking him this time? I wondered why, but I didn't want to ask any questions. What I needed was a drink and good food. I had been through so much stress. Just then, I began to hear voices from the sitting room. Fear enveloped me again. Hope it's not the voice that appeared before. I began to panic and I tiptoed there so I could get a peep. Wait a second. My husband was at the door, audibly telling someone to come back later. But what surprised me was that it was a lady. "Take care, sweetheart," she said and planted a kiss on my husband's cheek. My jaw dropped open. My eyes dilated. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Emeka closed the door and was stunned to see me behind him. He was more frightened than a rat in a corner. I shook my head in disbelief and asked coldly, "Emeka, who was that?" All of a sudden, his expression changed and he started walking towards me with speed. Immediately, my heart left my body. The moment my husband's expression changed, he started walking towards me at full speed. I couldn't move. My legs felt heavy like an overboiled yam. "Emeka, who was that lady?" I asked again, my voice trembling. He took 2 steps forward and instinctively I backed into the kitchen counter, my hand brushing against a knife. He saw the movement and stopped. "She is a business associate, Clara. Don't let your mind wander to where it shouldn't," he said, but his eyes kept moving around, refusing to meet mine. "Business associate?" I let out a bitter laugh. "In this city? Since when do business associates kiss billionaires on the cheap by 8 a.m.? He shook his head in frustration. "Emeka, I saw the pictures in the guest room. I saw Funke, Blessing, and Anita. Is she the next one? Is she the one who is supposed to move in when the landlord takes me tonight?" The mention of the names made Emeka freeze. He realized I had found the drawer. His expression moved from shock to fear. Fear that I had discovered the truth. Emeka had the look of a cornered rat. "You are never supposed to open that drawer," he whispered, his voice suddenly sounding like a stranger's. "If you had just played your part, everything would have been smooth. But you've been digging, Clara. You've been digging a grave you won't like." "What grave? The one you've already planned to throw me into tonight?" He lunged at me, grabbing my arm with a very strong grip. "Listen to me. You've already given me too much trouble. I'm really trying to play things calm, but you keep acting too smart." He paused and stared deep into my eyes. "The landlord will come tonight, and since you are so smart, you must have already figured it out. That girl you saw, she's the backup, the one to continue if things don't go as planned." He turned to me with concern. My husband had become something else overnight, but I knew he loved me. At least, that was what I thought. "And the children, Emeka, you said they're at your sister's place. Swear on your life that they are safe." Suddenly, his grip tightened. A wicked smile played on his lips. "My sister? Clara, I haven't spoken to my sister in 10 years. The children are exactly where the landlord wants them." I felt the world spinning. "What do you mean by that? Where did you take them to?" I screamed as tears welled up in my eyes. "Be quiet," he hissed, dragging me back towards the stairs. "You have 1 more bottle to fill before the sun sets. And this time, if you don't cooperate," he said, breathing hard. Emeka threw me back into the guest room and locked it. As I fell to the floor, tears began to pour freely from my eyes. Regret filled my soul. I couldn't believe this was the same man I married with delight. Truly, all that glitters is not gold. Just then, I began to hear a faint knocking sound on the guest bathroom window. It became louder and more aggressive as each moment passed. "Who is there?" I asked. Despite the fear in my heart, I mustered courage. I had already witnessed a lot in just a few hours. My heart was pounding hard as I took each step. Shockingly, to my greatest surprise, right outside the window, right there was the lady, the one who just kissed my husband. The lady, the same one who had kissed my husband, calling him sweetheart in my own house, was pressing her face against the glass. Her makeup was ruined by tears, and her eyes were wide with a terror that looked exactly like mine. "Please, open the window," she cried, her voice cracking. "I heard everything. I saw everything." I hesitated. Was this another trap? Was she sent by Emeka to finish me off? but the way she was shaking, looking over her shoulder at the empty backyard, told me she was running for her life. I managed to slide the window open. "I saw how you dragged you," she cried. Are you Emeka's wife?" She trembled. "Yes," I answered coldly. "What do you want? What did Emeka tell you? Were you not planning to get married to him?" "I was, but I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know he was married," he stuttered, holding onto the window frame. "He told me his wife died 2 years ago. He said he wanted someone to mother his children." My goodness. So Emeka already had gotten another fiancé when I was still alive and breathing. I was dumbfounded. "So, what's the problem? You changed your mind?" I witnessed everything. She took a deep breath and then she continued. "I heard what he said about me being a replacement, what he said about your kids, but I don't understand. I'm confused. What is really going on? What is Emeka doing with your milk? Is Emeka diabolical? You're asking too many questions, isn't it? Please, there are more important things." "Jesus!" she screamed. "Lower your voice," I said immediately. "Emeka shouldn't know you are here. In fact, I need to know. What is your name?" "Sarah," she answered. "Sarah, my name is Clara. You need to understand that Emeka is not who he claims to be. His money, his cars, this house, everything is ill-gotten." She wiped her face and looked at me with sheer concern. "He kept me here against my will." "Yes, I saw it, and I came here so I could help," she cut in. "I concluded something suspicious was going on the moment he threw you in here and shut the door. Thank God, you might be my only help out of this situation. God has answered my prayers," I said with a huge sigh of relief. "Do you have your phone with you?" I whispered. "Yes," she nodded.